Let us go back to the year 2001, not Space Odyssey, for a salutary lesson on how not to manage finances. This is a story of hedging, capital structure, with a side serving of operational incompetence. By 2001, Australian mining company Pasminco had 3 major underground zinc, lead, silver mines in Australia, plus the new large open pit Century mine. It was opened in August 2000. Pasminco also had 2 underground mines in Tennessee, smelters in Australia, a large smelter in the Netherlands and another in Tennessee, plus 2 secondary smelters in Australia. Pasminco claimed to be the world's largest integrated producer of zinc and lead. Integrated meaning mining plus smelting. The company supplied about 7% of the world's finished zinc and 4% of the world's finished lead. However, the world's zinc market is heavily influenced by Chinese supply and demand. Zinc is the prime metal for galvanizing steel to protect it against rust. Some economics here. Demand for zinc is not direct. It is dependent on the demand for steel, construction, cars, white goods, etc. Therefore, its demand is quite inelastic. That is, it does not respond very much to price changes. Pasminco had opened its large open-cut Century mine in Queensland, adding 20% to world supply of zinc. The mine cost over $1 billion to acquire and to develop. Most of this, more than $600 million, was funding from debt. This debt raises basic issues around capital structure. Debt is considered cheaper than equity, mainly because of its tax shield. The interest is tax deductible. The other side of the coin is that to the borrower, debt is riskier than equity. You must meet repayments. The basic guide is if you complement operational risk with financial risk. If your operational risks are high, then you use low financial risk. Little debt, you ensure you have hedging. If your operational risk is low and you're reasonably certain of future cash flows, and you can gear up more, borrow more. Mining is notorious for high operational risks. Breakdowns, natural disasters, think floods and anything else that comes along, fluctuating commodity prices, new competitors for your commodities. Developing a mine is even riskier. Long-term players like BHP and CRA have low gearing, very little debt, even though they tend to be geographically and commodity diversified. Pasminco had little geographic diversification and was concentrated, pardon the pun, in lead and zinc, with over $1.4 billion in debt. Strangely, even though it knew its plans to increase global supply by 20%, which would lower the prices, Pasminco decided to no longer hedge zinc prices. Now for your high school economics. The demand for zinc is derived from the demand to galvanize steel. So if global demand and supply are shown in the diagram, what happens when you increase supply by 20%? Hint, you move the supply curve 20% to the right and see what the new price will be where the demand and new supply curve intersect. The result is a new equilibrium price well below 20% of the previous equilibrium, say 40% lower, until economic mines shut down. You should know that your Century mine will send global prices plummeting. Fortunately, it turned out that the result was not so dire because the Century mine was plagued by production problems and transport difficulties. The mine was 250 kilometres northwest of Mount Isa in very inhospitable territory. Unfortunately, there was a global recession in 2000 and 2001, so demand shrank. So Pasminco is suffering two difficulties. Prices and demand are falling for their main product of zinc, and they have considerable debt. Now, the third blow, the death blow, hedging. Pasminco wound up its commodity hedging when they probably should not have. But they went into currency hedging big time. Like most global commodities, zinc was sold in American dollars. So a weak Australian dollar against the greenback is helpful. You get more Australian dollars for every American dollar you earn. Of course, though, if the Australian dollar rises against the greenback, you are worse off, receiving fewer Australian dollars for each US dollar. So you want to hedge against a rising Australian dollar. Given the precarious position of Pasminco, with lower zinc prices and high debt, they went into currency hedging with gusto. Pasminco used a mixture of forward exchange rate contracts, FRAs, and options. During 2000, the major FRA, US dollar to Australian dollar, expired. Most of the currency hedging was now via options, with the nominal value outstanding doubling during 2000. Pasminco basically bought options to protect from a rising Australian dollar. Like any insurance policy, you must pay a premium for your protection, the price of the options bought. But Pasminco was smart. It did not want the cost of buying the options, so it put out to tender to merchant banks for a policy that would lower the cost of buying the options. Easy, said the snake oil merchants. Right, or sell options on the other side. The money you have paid for writing the options against the falling Australian dollar will offset the cost of buying options to protect against a rising Australian dollar. The Australian dollar is already low. It was below 60 US cents. How much lower could it go? Pasminco was even smarter. By using spreads between the buying options and writing options that made them a profit. Pasminco had sold contracts from 2001 to beyond 2004, covering billions of dollars. These contracts had an exercise price ranging from US 59 cents to 69 cents. This meant that Pasminco was obligated to the holders of these options to pay that price for Australian dollars if the holders, the owners of the options, exercised their rights. During the global recession, the Australian dollar fell to less than 50 cents US. Losing money on the operations was bad enough. Losing 1.8 billion on the hedge book was fatal. Neither the managing director nor the finance director understood finance, as evidenced by their shouting matches in the corridors. Although the now ex-finance director did later write an article in a finance magazine about how she was blameless for the loss. Lessons. Know what you're doing. If you need to tender for advice, you'll get what you deserve. Basic risk and return management are just that, basic. Just because it is a big company does not necessarily mean that the management is competent. The advantage of big companies over small companies on failures is that there is usually considerable leeway. You can do asset sales, nervous bankers want you to survive, and you can usually get through one or two crises. Pasminco managed to achieve 3 big crises in short time, so it could fail. Operational issues and falling commodity prices with the big project, Century Mine, high gearing, and dumb hedging. If you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button and subscribe for further content.